Today, we're going to dive into one of the most famous puzzles in all of philosophy. It's a story about a scientist, sure, but it ends with this huge question. Is there more to reality than what our science can actually measure? So, to really get to the heart of this, let me ask you a question. Imagine you could learn every single scientific fact there is to know about the color red. The physics of light waves, the biology of the eye, the neurology of the brain, all of it. Could you truly know what red is if you'd never actually seen it with your own eyes? That question really pushes back against this powerful idea called physicalism. And the core of physicalism is basically this. Everything that's real, everything there is to know, can eventually be explained by physical facts. Our thoughts, our feelings, our experiences, they're all just incredibly complex patterns of brain chemistry and electrical signals. There's nothing extra going on. But a philosopher named Frank Jackson wanted to put that idea to the test. So he came up with a story, a thought experiment, and it all revolves around a brilliant scientist named Mary. Okay, so let's meet Mary. For the sake of our story, she's not just a neuroscientist, she is the undisputed world expert on how we see color. She knows every single physical fact there is to know about it. But here's the twist, and it's a big one. Mary has lived her entire life inside a specially designed black and white room. She's learned everything from black and white books and through a monochrome computer screen. She has never, not even once, actually seen color. And yet, her knowledge is complete, at least physically speaking. From inside that colorless room, she has mastered the physics of light, the biology of the retina, and every single neural process involved in color vision. So she could tell you exactly which wavelengths bounce off a ripe tomato, how they hit the cone cells in your eye, and precisely which neurons fire and in what order to make you say, hey, that tomato is red. She knows the entire physical story from beginning to end. So she has all the physical data, every bit of it, no gaps in her scientific knowledge. The million-dollar question is, what happens when we finally open the door and she walks out into the colorful world for the very first time? Does she actually learn anything new? So the door opens. Mary steps outside, and for the first time, she sees a red rose. This one moment, the entire thought experiment hinges on what happens right now. Does she learn something new? And the answer that just feels right to almost everyone is, of course she learns something new. She learns what it is like to see red. That experience, that subjective quality, is a totally new piece of information she didn't have before, even though she already had all the physical facts. This what it's likeness of an experience actually has a special name in philosophy. It's called qualia. It's not the scientific data about a thing, but the internal feeling of it. As Frank Jackson himself put it, qualia are things like the hurtfulness of pains or that specific, undeniable experience of tasting a lemon. You can know all the chemistry, all the neurology, but that doesn't tell you what it's actually like. That experience is the qualia. Okay, so this is the crucial part. If Mary learns something new, it means her physical knowledge wasn't the whole story. It means there's more to the world than just physical facts. But, and this is a big but, this conclusion leads us to a really, really strange and unsettling place. Think about it. If this feeling of redness isn't part of the physical world of cause and effect, does it actually do anything at all? When you pull your hand away from a hot stove, is it the non-physical hurtfulness of the pain that makes you move? Or is it just the physical nerve signals and brain processes doing all the work? This slide does a great job breaking down just how radical this idea is. The standard view is what we all assume. A brain process, like a pain signal, causes our behavior. Simple. But Jackson's view is wild. He says the brain process causes both our behavior and the feeling of pain, but as two separate effects. The feeling itself, the qualia, doesn't actually cause a thing. It's just along for the ride. To make this a little clearer, Jackson uses a fantastic analogy. When you're watching a movie, you see the image of a fist flying across the screen, and then you see the image of a head snapping back. It looks like one caused the other, right? But we know that's not true. They are both just separate effects of the underlying cause, the movie projector running the film. In the same way, the physical brain state is the projector, and our actions and our feelings are just two different images on the screen. Now, as you can probably imagine, this whole idea that our feelings are just powerless side effects, well, it faced some pretty huge objections. Let's take a look at how Jackson defended his idea.
The biggest objection comes straight from evolution. I mean, natural selection is pretty brutal. It doesn't tend to keep traits around if they're useless. So if qualia, like the feeling of pain or fear, don't actually cause us to act and survive, why on earth would we have them?
Jackson's reply here is just brilliant. He says, think about a polar bear's coat. A warm coat is obviously amazing for survival in the Arctic, but a warm coat is also a heavy coat. And being heavy is actually bad for survival. It makes the bear slower. So why did a bad trait, heaviness, evolve? Because it's an unavoidable byproduct of a really good trait, warmth. Jackson argues our feelings could be the exact same thing, a useless byproduct of these incredibly useful brain processes that do help us survive. Okay, so here's the second big problem. If my feeling of pain doesn't cause me to yell, ouch, then how can my yelling ouch be any kind of evidence to you that I'm actually feeling pain? This kind of throws our whole ability to know that other people even have feelings into question. And again, Jackson has a pretty clever answer. Think about it like this. If newspaper A reports a certain football score, that's really good evidence that newspaper B will have the same report. Now, one paper didn't cause the other to print it. They were both caused by the same event, the game itself. Similarly, my physical brain state is the game. It causes both my behavior, like yelling ouch, and my private feeling of pain. So you can infer my feeling from my action because they share that common cause. So after defending this very strange idea of powerless feelings, Jackson ends with this final, really humbling thought about why this is all so difficult for us to even wrap our heads around. He basically argues that we are products of evolution. Our minds evolved for one main purpose, survival. Natural selection gave us the tools we needed to understand things relevant to surviving, but there was never any evolutionary pressure to understand the fundamental nature of consciousness. We're built to find food and avoid lions, not to solve the deepest mysteries of existence. And that leaves us with a final, really provocative thought. Just like a sea slug on the ocean floor could never possibly comprehend our world of color and sound and light, what fundamental aspects of reality might be completely outside our ability to understand? What essential truths might we be blind to, not because they aren't real, but simply because our brains never evolved the capacity to see them?